for Pound, the MMA podcast. And now, coming to the mic, your host, Jalen Walker.
Welcome to Pound for Pound, the MMA podcast. I'm your host, Jalen Walker. If you're listening to the podcast via Spotify, Apple Music, or any other streaming platform, please make sure to also check us out on YouTube at Pound for Pound MMA Podcast and click that subscribe button if you don't mind. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 257 is officially here. The first pay-per-view of 2021. It's going to be a night full of incredible athleticism with two huge lightweight showcases to close out the night. For the co-main event, we have UFC vet Dan the Hangman Hooker taking on a seasoned Lightweight Bellator Champion Michael Iron Chandler. Chandler's debut in the octagon has been highly anticipated after his fantastic almost decade with Bellator. But will he be able to hang with the Hangman on the best stage in MMA in Abu Dhabi, in fact, actually, too. But yeah, and then, of course, the main event of the night, a rematch between Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Notorious Conor McGregor. It's been nearly 7 years since these two met in the octagon, and they both are completely different fighters physically and mentally. Both men are fighting for a bigger purpose in this stage in their career, but one thing is on both of their minds, and that's the lightweight championship of the world. Great fights tonight with Stat Card. We'll break it all down and much, much more. But first, a word from our sponsor at Manscaped. Manscaped is the official electric trimmer of the UFC, not only representing this podcast here, but also sponsors multiple UFC stars, including Max Holloway, Francis Ngannou, and Sugar Sean O'Malley. Manscaped is changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. The Perfect Package 3.0 includes the premier Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. The ceramic blade and skin-safe technology are designed to reduce nicks or tugs on your fellas down low. For all of our international listeners out there, they just launched their life-changing products in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the EU. Time to hop on the Manscaped movement. Inside the Perfect Package 3.0, you'll get the Crop Preserver deodorant for below the belt and its anti-chafing and moisturizer. You'll also get the Crop Reviver toner, which is the aloe vera infused cologne for below the belt. And for a limited time, subscribers get not one, but two free gifts. That's the Shed Travel Bag, which is a $39 value, and then a patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. Get 20% off with code POUNDFORPOUND at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code POUNDFORPOUND at manscaped.com, plus the two free gifts going on right now with the Shed Travel Bag and the anti-chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. And don't forget, check out Manscaped's Refined Cologne. We're going to be giving away this one right here. It's about a $50 value, something like that. But yeah, just stay tuned and figure out how you can win this cologne here. Shout out to Manscaped. Thank you, guys. All right. Now, for the guest today, he is an undefeated Canadian lightweight who spent most of his career with King of the Cage promotion, Ohio Combat League, and LFA. You might have seen him last season on Dana White's Contender Series, where he had an impressive unanimous decision victory over the skilled Mike Breeden. Since then, he fought again with LFA, securing a victory over Zach Jusola, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to the podcast Canada's top lightweight prospect, Anthony the Genius Romero. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for coming back on the show. Looking forward to talking to you. How's everything going? How's life?
Everything's good. Enjoying as much as I can. I'm happy to be in the position that I'm in. Spending time with my family and I know it could probably be a lot much better for all of us, but just happy with the way things are.
For sure, for sure. So you're still fighting with Parabellum MMA and Niagara Top Team. Your coaches are Lyndon Whitlock, Rory McDonald, and Chris Pickett. How's the gym? How's everything flowing? How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's great. Everything's still on track to get to my goals. Just like I said, enjoying every moment that I have, and yeah, just getting better and better every day.
So, is it pretty cold up there in Canada?
Yeah, I got the toque on. Yeah, it's pretty cold. It's probably like minus 10 out right now. But yeah, it's pretty cold. So trying to stay warm.
Yeah, it was 12 degrees Fahrenheit here earlier, so it's pretty cold here too. But yeah. So any new up and coming fighters in the gym that's been catching your eye? You guys got anybody new?
Pretty much the same group of guys and girls. But yeah, a few people that are on the UFC radar, like Erin Jeffrey and Jasmine. She's doing well, and I believe they both have fights coming up. So they're in camp. So we're just all just getting them ready because they have big fights coming up. So other than that, I think we have Zach Powell as well, part of the Dodge Sports group, and he's been training with us as well. And like I said, we're just getting all better and better, and just helping each other out.
Yeah, shout out Matthew Dodge. Is it correct? Your manager?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool guy. But yeah, so since the last time we talked, you've taken your win streak to 9-0 as a professional fighter with your split decision win over Zach Jusola. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
I believe so. Yeah.
Jusola at LFA 96 on December 4th last year in Park City, Kansas. Talk to me a little bit about that fight and the preparation getting ready for that fight.
Yeah, it was an interesting fight. I believe I got a new opponent within a week's notice, and completely different fighter.
Did not know
he
that.
had more of a reach. He was taller compared to my previous competition, and more of a striker compared to a wrestler. So it was kind of like a polar opposite opponent, which is pretty interesting. But I just wanted to show that I could hang in there with anybody and compete with the best. And he was the most experienced opponent that I could find that was available. And we took it. And coming off of that Contender Series win, and I guess you can say the criticism that Dana White had about southpaws and everything, that's exactly what I wanted to show, that I can compete with southpaws. And that's what I did. So
For sure. I didn't know that you had they changed the opponent on you. Were you hesitant to still go with that fight, or were you fully locked in? You had to take it. Did they give you the option to take it, to back out?
I could have backed out, but I wanted to finish the year off strong.
Sure.
I still had a salty taste from my last fight. I wanted to prove that I could do much better, and I had that fight and I got the win, and now I'm here at 9-0 and pretty happy with the position that I'm in.
Yeah, it was a close fight, split decision, but you got the dub, you got it done. You're technically on a 17-fight win streak, technically amateur and pro. Isn't that correct?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's absurd, man.
Matt keeps track of that.
Yeah, dude, that's absurd. Like, it still blows my mind that you haven't been snatched up by like Bellator, UFC. It just blows my mind. But yeah, is there any feelings or emotions that come like with such a long streak? Does that like fuel you in the octagon, or do you like try not to think about it and humble yourself?
Yeah, like I don't really think about it too much. I always go into the next fight thinking that I'm an 0-0 fighter, always ready for whatever, and I'm always learning every day. So I don't really use it as fuel or anything like that, because at the end of the day, it's in the past, and it doesn't really matter. Every fight is a new fight. So.
Understandable. Yeah. So looking back at that fight with Zach, you've probably watched it back, correct?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen anything that you could do different to get the finish over him? I know he was a lot taller and had the reach over you, but like, is there anything that you saw?
Yeah, just a little bit different, right? I was getting better, obviously, every day, but preparing for a different type of opponent, preparing for being a little bit more defensive with the takedowns because I was supposed to go against a wrestler. And this is more of a striking matchup. And like I said, just a little bit different, but I guess just opening up a little bit more, a little bit hesitant in there, first and second round. I started to open up in the third round, which ended up getting me the win because it was 1-1 after the second. So just opening up more and not being so hesitant probably would have been best. But at the end of the day, you can't change much, right, until the next fight. So I'm in the gym and trying to open up more with sparring and all that, and it's coming together very well.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, that sounds like a great game plan. I mean, you obviously got everything on track. You have the track record to prove it. But yeah, it just shows the type of fighter you are to still take that fight with, I don't know if I can say a tougher opponent, but more of a challenge for you because you weren't even expecting that. But it just shows the type of fighter you are to step up, get the job done, and just keep it moving.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, so you're clearly a top prospect in the sport, no matter how you look at it. What's the next move at this moment with you coming off this victory? It was your first fight since competing on Dana White's Contender Series, which you got a lot of buzz for. But what's it looking like now for the near future?
It's hard to say now. Hopefully something with LFA or CFFC as for a title fight. I believe LFA just crowned a new champion, so that would be an interesting fight. Also Bellator and of course the UFC. So one of those four would be awesome for me.
Who did
LFA
just crown the champion?
Yeah, I believe it was last weekend or 2 weeks ago. They had a new lightweight champion. So,
what's his name? Do you know his name?
I believe it was Nick Brown.
Okay, Nick Brown. I don't think I've heard of him. Yeah, so you're interested in fighting him in the meantime?
Yeah. Like I said, anyone for that title or CFFC, those are always the feeder promotions for the UFC.
For sure.
And either Bellator or, of course, the UFC. So any of those four, I'm pretty open to taking.
For sure. LFA, is it only in Kansas, or was it just there for that moment?
I think they are having all their events in Kansas. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I think the last couple were in Kansas. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, so many of these organizations are just hunkered down. And like, I mean, you got like the PFL. The PFL's not even doing anything. They told their athletes, like, hey, go ahead and go look for some other stuff until we get everything back together. Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they kind of just like screwed all their athletes over, but yeah, it's crazy out here. But yeah, so your next move, you're willing to take anything. Have you heard what are you mostly leaning towards? That's what I want to get at. Like, what are you trying to push for at this moment? Like, what do you think is a more realistic goal for an octagon you can get back into? What organization?
Yeah, well, there's always that option with the UFC. They're always taking,
are you just on standby at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay,
they're always taking short notice fights for the UFC.
And there's so many of those,
especially with COVID
and
injuries and all that happening.
Exactly.
And then as for having a full camp, would probably be with either LFA or CFFC for a title fight. But it's hard to say these days. I could take a short notice fight, or I could take a nice camp, a nice training camp, and get ready for a fight. So either one, like I said, is doable for me, and my weight is great as well, so that's not an issue. Yeah, so I think the UFC is going to Vegas in February.
Exactly.
They have a few cards in February, so that would be a great opportunity as well.
Yeah, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but yeah, dude, there's so much like just hope with COVID. You know what I mean? Like, people are dropping out left and right. So yeah, that'd be really interesting. And do you walk around at is your natural weight your fight weight, or are you a little high or below? What are you at?
I'm like in the 170s.
Oh, okay.
Pretty light for my division.
Yeah.
People usually in my weight, or like in my weight class, are like 180s.
Yeah. And they gotta cut a ton of weight.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's the fighters the UFC want. Like, you can call them up, give me like a week or two, let's bang, let's get the job done. And I think sometimes that's the most exciting fight. I mean, look at Jorge Masvidal. Like when he came in with 20, I can't remember having like a week or so or whatever, and he had to lose 20 pounds. Like that whole scenario, there was just so much hype going behind it, and it was just, yeah, I love those type of fights. They excite me. But speaking of fights, you being a lightweight, I got to talk to you about this lightweight super showcase tonight. With first off, we got the UFC veteran Dan Hooker, the number 6 ranked fighter in the division, going up against Bellator veteran Michael Chandler in his first fight with the UFC. What do you think about this matchup? As we know, everyone in front of Dan Hooker turned down Michael Chandler because they didn't want to risk losing their rank or whatever. What do you think about this fight?
I think it's a great fight for both of them. For Hooker, because Michael Chandler's a well-known fighter outside of the UFC, and he brings a lot of buzz. So for him to have that fight will give him the attention as well. And then for Michael Chandler, it's a good position because it's not too high of an opponent, but it's just perfect for him to get into that division. And it's also a tough fight for Chandler. Dan Hooker's a very good opponent and very crafty on his feet and has an underrated ground game, I believe. So it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be really, really exciting. So it's hard to really pick on that one.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because Dan Hooker, he's kind of like a lot taller than Michael Chandler. Like he's a full head length like above him. So I think that'd be interesting. I think Michael Chandler's just going to be able to get up in the pocket on him. I think I don't think Dan Hooker, I mean, he's quick, but he's going to have to give him short jabs to keep him away. But if he comes for a hook or anything, I think Chandler's just going to get right up in his chin and just let everything loose. And he's just going to I think he's going to possibly put him down, to be honest with you. I think this is Michael Chandler's time, and I think he's ready to step up. And I think he's going to show the UFC and show the world tonight that he's no joke, in my opinion, at least.
Oh, yeah, of course. Anything can happen, and that's what makes the sport so exciting for everyone to watch is no one really knows the outcome of anything.
Exactly. I mean, Dan Hooker was nominated for Fight of the Year last year with Dustin Poirier, which was an incredible fight to start out the year. I mean, we've had incredible fights to start the year so far. What did you think about that Max Holloway performance against Calvin?
That was crazy. I don't even know how to describe that. It was just unbelievable the way he was able to keep that pace for 5 minute rounds.
Shattered records, dude.
And then even after the fight, he was just jumping around,
exactly,
going back to the locker room. Like he had so much energy. I don't know where that comes from, but that's a lot of hard work that he puts in his training, and I want to know some secrets that he has in his training camp because that's amazing.
Yeah, dude. What blew my mind was when they tracked the punches in the fight. They're like, oh yeah, he broke the record, like 300 something punches, and then literally they came back after the fight and they were like, actually, he had 450 punches landed.
Extra
dude, 150 extra punches landed. That's how fast he was just throwing them out. And I don't know if you watched the behind the scenes. They put out like the new arena on UFC for Abu Dhabi, and they showed behind the scenes of Max Holloway and them, and they were showing Dana the whole time. And like he went to the VP of UFC and he was like, dude, like Herb needs to stop this fight. I'm starting to get scared. And then Dana walked over to Cater's team and he was like, yo, after the fight, get him out of here. Go straight to the hospital. I don't care. Don't talk to anybody. Get out of here. Because, I mean, it was on ABC. It was prime time. Not prime time, but I think Dana, for the first time in a while, was like, oh, my God, I don't want someone taking this much damage on this platform. You know what I mean? And I think he was honestly nervous because Calvin was getting manhandled it was bad, man. But he was taking them.
Yeah, it probably easily could have been stopped. He was just there for a couple seconds, just not responding. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he responded with a couple punches. But and a few times he was wobbled before that. So yep. I wouldn't have been complaining if it was stopped early.
Yeah, what do you think about? So technically, the rule that refs go by is Cater was getting punched, but he's responding because the one when he was against the cage, when he was just not looking and swinging and stuff, like technically he was telling him, do work. You got to show me something. And he was showing him something. So technically the ref in his mind couldn't stop the fight. It's up to Calvin to stop and like let go a little bit and just let the fight end. But he's not that type of fighter. He's going to go out. And he was clear-headed even after the fight, walking out. Like, it blew my mind.
Yeah, it was. It's such a hard job for the referee, and people will complain, or people. It's very rare that people will say, "Oh, the ref did a very good job," because any decision the ref makes, there's always an opposite opinion. Yep. But yeah, he did a good job. But I'm just thankful that nothing serious happened. Exactly. At that moment. So.
But boy, oh boy, did we get that great moment with Max just hitting him and saying, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC," and just dodged a 5-piece, man.
It wasn't even looking either.
Dude.
It was crazy.
They're saying it's the most dominant and I don't even know how to explain it, performance by an individual athlete. So what he did in that ring, stat-wise, how many records he broke, and how he just shattered him. It makes no sense. And it came out of nowhere. I think it was honestly, he was just like, you know what? I got to show him right here, because if not, I'm going to become a gatekeeper or something. Because they do that to people, you know what I mean? I still think he won that fight against Volkanovski, but, you know what I mean? Judges are going to be judges biased towards champions. But it is what it is. But I hope we get that again soon. But it most likely, I think it's Brian Ortega versus Volkanovski next, correct?
Yes, that's confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Ooh, I don't even think I want to talk about that yet. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be exciting. But yeah, the main event tonight. I don't want to get too off track. Obviously, we got Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. Number 2, we got Poirier coming ranked in at number 2. Conor McGregor ranked at 4. It's interesting seeing Conor as the tail-end, as I would say, of the main event card. You got Dustin's name first, and Conor's sitting there pretty second. I don't know if that's really upset him or if it bothers him, but what do you think about this fight and the two fighters and the preparation they're going into it, for what you've seen so far?
From what I've seen so far, I feel like Conor's gonna win. Just from he's not doing too many mental games this time, but I feel like Poirier is still stuck in that moment from the past. It's hard to tell for other people, but I can kind of see it in Poirier's eyes. Yeah. Even in the show weigh-ins, you could see like he was responding to Conor's movement. Conor went down into his stance, and then he stood up, and then Poirier went down to his stance and he stood up. So he kind of like followed McGregor's actions. Yeah. So small things like that I could tell. But again, it's one of those things that you can't really say what the outcome's going to be until it actually happens. But I feel like I'm going to pick McGregor on that one, either first or second round. But yeah, it'll be a very interesting fight.
I will say one thing about that. You're a fighter. I'm not. So I will take your word for that, and I do believe you. But I was watching Embedded, and there was something Dustin said that really made me think. He was backstage, and it was right before he was about to go out when they were doing the ceremonial weigh-in, with all the crowds and stuff. And he's like, dude, I may be just giddy and all this all the time and blah, blah, blah. But dude, when the motherfucking lights hit, it's game time. And all of a sudden, he just started getting tensed up. And he was like, dude, there's just something about it. I can feel it. And he was just starting to feel the energy. And I think he's one of those fighters that really does feed off that crowd energy, and that really just locks him in. And even at the Apex with Dan Hooker, it was an amazing fight. Just imagine when he's gonna be ramped up, going ham. He's one of the rare people to have stunned Khabib. He did work on Justin Gaethje. He put Justin Gaethje out. Who else? Justin Gaethje's a beast. I think we're gonna have a really interesting fight tonight, and I think people are kind of underestimating Poirier, and I think he is a placeholder right now for someone that Conor just has to beat to be able to get Khabib to come back. Because if Conor doesn't beat Dustin tonight, Khabib's not going to come back and fight him. Only person Khabib will come back to fight at that point would be GSP. And that's 100%. And I think,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's why Conor reached out and tried to do a charity fight with that donation to Dustin just so he knew the UFC would be like, all right, no, we want you to fight with us, but here's your opponent. And I think Conor mentally just knew he could beat Dustin, and it's like not an easy fight for him. No, there's no easy fight, but it's not a Justin Gaethje fight. I think Conor would have a lot more trouble with Justin Gaethje, but I think Dustin's a diamond, and he's a diamond in the rough, man, just like his nickname. Like, he's a sneaky man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very excited for that. Like I said, anything can happen, so I'll be happy either way. I like both guys. Both are very very talented fighters, top of the division. So I'm just excited to see who comes out on top.
Tricky question here. What do you think would be a better outcome for MMA and or the UFC? Conor winning or Dustin winning?
Probably Conor winning, of course. I think
for sure.
Conor winning is just the moneymaker for everyone. So that's probably the best for the organization. But I think the fighters should think about themselves, not what's best for the organization. Because once your time's done, the organization's gonna go on without you.
Exactly.
So you try to make the best of it for your career.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with you on that. It's interesting to think about just the outcomes, because I'm the type of guy, like, I'm thinking like 3 or 4 fights ahead. Like, if this guy beats this guy, how can we see these two people fight? What will be the outcome? And it's very interesting time right now in the lightweight and other divisions in the UFC. There's a lot of talent, and I think it's some of the first time in a while, not just in the UFC, Bellator, LFA, the PFL. I mean, so many organizations like Cage Warriors, like, and even what's the one in Abu Dhabi now? They were just there.
Brave, isn't it?
Brave, yeah. It's the AU. I can't remember the other name of it, but yeah, dude, those events look awesome, dude. I mean, that looked sick. Like, but yeah, there's just so many organizations, so much talent now, and it's a great thing for the sport. And I'm happy to see it, and I'm happy to see people like you doing so well in the sport. And I'm hoping you get your chance here on the very big stage soon enough.
Yeah, thank you. I always say it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just it's a little patience, and when the time happens, it'll be there. But just try not to rush it, and just go day by day. So.
Exactly. I mean, dude, you're 23, 17 fight pro, an amateur win streak right now, 9-0 in your pro career. I mean, there's no looking back for you right now. You're smooth sailing. But yeah, man, I wish you nothing but the luck, best of luck, and I appreciate you coming on here. And I don't know if you're gonna be watching the fights tonight. That's a stupid question. You're gonna be watching the fights tonight, most likely. But I hope you enjoy the fights tonight. And we'll see what happens. I'm gonna be glued to that TV for all these fights, even the prelim fights, man. The whole card, early prelims, every fight is just. Dana just hit us like da.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. So make sure you go to the bathroom before the card starts. Get your popcorn and don't move. So it's gonna be a good one.
People don't understand that. Like, you can't walk away from these fights. Like, you just gotta just hunker down. Possible 25 minutes for a main event, co-main event, depending on what's going on with the title. Like, you just gotta watch it and enjoy it. But yeah, like I said, wishing the best of luck for you. Hope to see you soon. And look forward to talking to you next time, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate the time, and
anybody want to
enjoy the fights.
Anybody you want to shout out? Sponsors? Anybody you want to say?
Well, you just check out my Instagram, genius_MMA. I have all my sponsors there. There's a long list of them, so we want to be able to watch the fights tonight. But yeah, thank you to all my supporters, my fans, my family. My girlfriend, just everyone, just thank you so much, and thank you for having me again.
For sure, yeah. And your Instagram link is in the description of this video for you guys to check out.
Sweet.
Awesome. All right, catch you later, man. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Anthony the Genius Romero, thanks for coming on the show again, man. Always great talking to you. But yeah, let's get into this card. Like you said, let's get this going so we can watch these fights tonight. we got a stacked main card, man. Even the prelims. I was going to break down the prelims also, but it would have just been so much because I wanted to try to go as in-depth as I could with these cards, with these 5 fights at least. But yeah, we got Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas at the women's strawweight. You know, Marina Rodriguez is 12-1-2. She enters this matchup as the 8th best fighter in the women's strawweight division. Her last battle ended in a split decision, though, and that was a loss against Carla Esparza back in July of 2020, which was a very, very good fight. But yeah, she has 5 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 6 by decision. She also has 4 out of her 5 last knockout victories resulting in the first round. She has a real savagery to her fight style. She tunes opponents up with very aggressive mix. She uses punches, elbows, and knees at close distance. She is Muay Thai. She has the whole package. She puts combinations together very, very well. But yeah, she's someone that I think Amanda Ribas is really going to have to take a step back and try to figure out here. They both only have 1 loss. Amanda Ribas is 10-1. You know, Ribas is right behind Rodriguez. Ribas, sorry, let me clarify that. Ribas is right behind Rodriguez in the rankings, placing at 10th best in the division. She currently finds herself on a 5-fight winning streak and is undefeated in UFC competition. Amanda has 3 wins by knockout, 4 by submission, and 3 by decision. She also has 5 first-round finishes with a combination of knockouts and submission. She's very dynamic. She's a jiu-jitsu and judo black belt. She's one of the division's fastest rising prospects with an infectious personality and very well-rounded skill set. And the sky appears to be the limit for this Brazilian who has won 4 straight fights in the UFC. When she went up against Dern, a grappling master, she managed her own too on top of everything. So I had to mention that. But once on top, Ribas has also shown a more aggressive submission game, which could just be the ticket in pushing Rodriguez's athleticism and trying to get that scrambling motion. And I think it's going to be an interesting bout, to be 100% honest with you. Marina has some great defense, and Amanda is very dominant on the ground. But both fighters have a lot here. It's hard to say. This is a tough one. But by the way things are looking, I think I got to take Ribas wins via decision. I think she's just going to be able to take Marina Rodriguez down more, and she's just going to be able to, like, not play with her, but just tumble around with her, get some ground and pound in, round ends. She's just going to keep doing that. It might not be the most exciting fight, but it's going to be very technical if you're into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Judo or anything like that. So interesting fight there. We'll see what the outcome is. But I think Amanda Ribas is going to take that via decision. All right, on to Andrew Sanchez versus Makhmud Muradov. I believe that's how we pronounce his name, Muradov. Andrew Sanchez, 13-5. Sanchez is returning after a first-round knockout performance against Wellington Turman back in August of 2020. This was a quick rebound after a decision loss to Marvin Vettori. The fight before that was the fight before that. He has 6 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 4 by decision. He also has 6 first-round finishes with a combined effort from knockouts and submissions. El Dirty, as they call him, gives up an inch of height and just under 2 inches of reach to his opponent. Sanchez, though technically sound, struggles when forced to work at a high pace. We will see how much he matches up against his opponent, and it's going to be very, very interesting. Only because, sorry, I don't want to butcher his name anymore. Muradov, he's 24-6. It's interesting because he's currently riding a 13-fight win streak, and this guy is no joke, man. Like, his most recent victory was a knockout, literally back in December 2019. It was against God, I have it right here. It was against Trevor Smith. Yeah, he is 16 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 5 by decision. He has 10 first-round finishes with a combination of knockouts and submissions. And this is the thing that kills me. He's the sole Team Money, TMT, the Money Team. He's the sole MMA representative for Team Money Team, Floyd Mayweather's organization. He's the only one part of Team Money Team that is in the UFC, and he is a beast, man. He brought an 11-fight win streak into the octagon debut and has extended it to 12 with a decision win over Alessio Di Chirico. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry if it's not. His next effort was even more impressive as he leveled Trevor Smith with a brutal right hand to win performance of the night. Though Muradov still has a lot to prove before he can be labeled a future top contender in this Shark Tank of a division, he's perfectly equipped to win this one, and that's why I think Muradov wins via decision. Team Money Team, man, making waves and everything. They got the guy in the UFC. He's on the main card, a Conor card on top of all that. So he's representing. All right, one of my favorite fights of the night. I mean, these last 3 fights are just bazonkers. Like, it's crazy. But we got Jessica Ai versus Joanne Calderwood at women's flyweight. Ladies and gentlemen, this fight is going to be insane. Jessica Ai is 15-8 with 1 no contest. But Ai is aiming to move up in the women's flyweight division as she is currently holding the 6th ranked spot. In her last fight, she lost to Cynthia Calvillo by unanimous decision, so she lost some of the momentum there. But she has 3 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 11 by decision. Since most of her fights typically make it to a decision, she only has 2 first-round finishes in her career, though. Ai typically wins fights by being more consistent than her opponents. She pushes a solid pace for 3 rounds, and this is competition-wise all over. But yeah, so if her opponent is unable to match her volume or has a particular weakness in one area, I would typically find a way to capitalize. But this is where it just gets kind of hard because she has the size and strength, but I don't think she has the advantage to get the victory, if that makes sense. But I mean, she's a former bantamweight fighter, and she's fighting a longtime strawweight in Joanne Calderwood, who's also 14-5. But Calderwood is looking to improve in this division also, but she's currently 7th, so she's right behind Jessica Ai. But she's also attempting to rebound a submission loss to Jennifer Maia back in August of 2020, which that fight was insane. But she has 5 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 8 by decision. She also has 4 first-round finishes with a combination of knockouts and submissions. Neither volume nor conditioning has historically been an issue for her. In fact, her strikes are very, very high rate, generally winning fights by outworking her opponents more often. Calderwood comes up short when her grappling fails her, either because she is out-wrestled or submitted even while in good position. Ai is a boxer first and foremost, and she is not particularly fast or able to suddenly close distance, but that's why Calvillo was able to confound her with the movement and then time takedowns as Ai overcommitted to her punches in an attempt to close the distance. Because of all this, I got to respect Jessica Ai, but I think Calderwood wins via decision. Interesting fight. Sorry, my screen keeps flickering, and it's kind of bothering me. But, yeah, great fight. Looking forward to this. The women's flyweight division is stacked. There's so much talent there, and no shortage of fights for Sean Shelby, the matchmaker, and Dana White to make. Looking forward to this fight and future fights in the women's flyweight. Okay, on to the co-main event, man. This fight has so much hype just because of Michael Chandler coming over from Bellator. But yeah, the UFC debut of Michael Chandler has been a long one coming. The longtime Bellator fighter and lightweight Bellator champion will step into the octagon of the UFC for the first time against a seasoned veteran in Dan the Hangman Hooker. Hooker is nearly the top 5 in the division, coming in ranked 6th and looked to climb even sooner with a victory here and victories in his near future in his mindset. His most recent fight was an unanimous decision loss to Dustin Poirier, which was nominated for Fight of the Year also. That was one of the best lightweight fights I have ever seen in my entire life. He has 10 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, and 3 by decision. And he also has 12 first-round finishes with a combined effort of knockouts and submissions. Dan Hooker is a tall, rangy kickboxer with a devastating array of striking tools. The New Zealander... No, wait. I just want to make sure. I don't know if he's from New Zealand. I believe he is, but I don't want to misclaim that. Yeah, I believe he's from New Zealand. Has scored knockouts inside the octagon with punches, knees, elbows, and head kick. And if the opponent changes levels Hooker, he can threaten with a nasty guillotine and submission. He scored on 2 opponents in the UFC. And yes, I do want to confirm. I just pulled it up. I do still want to misquote that he is from New Zealand. So the Hangman's route to victory against Chandler is to keep the fight standing, which is always on his mind, to use his reach advantage and to attack the legs, which he is so good at. He did it to Dustin. Dustin, he doesn't want to admit it, but his legs were beat during that fight. Like, he was just hammering them and torturing them, and they were just red. Oh man, it was bad. But I gotta give it to Dustin. He was checking him and he was starting to time him, and that's what helped him get Dan to stop throwing him as much. And Dan was getting tired with throwing him at such a high rate. But that's the thing about it. If Michael Chandler can get Dan just to keep throwing repetitive punches over and over, he can learn that pattern. Dan's going to get tired, and he can just sneak in there into the pocket and get the job done. But it all depends on how Dan Hooker comes out. We don't know until we see that second round what he's about, what his fighting style is going to be about, what he's going to be pushing towards. So it's going to be an interesting bout. Although Hooker is fighting an unranked fighter in Michael Chandler, he will still gain plenty for winning this fight. Michael Iron Chandler, my apologies, 21-5. Chandler will be making his UFC debut, like I said. He spent a majority of his career with the Bellator, and man, he was the lightweight champion there. He's coming into the UFC. He has 9 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, and 5 by decision. He also has 12 first-round finishes with a combination of knockouts and submissions. And for 10 years, Chandler has been exclusively fighting under the Bellator banner. But now that he's signed to the UFC, he's got his eyes on the coveted UFC lightweight championship. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, that's what they're fighting for. Standing in his way is a ferocious striker with unwavering toughness who represents the most difficult task in Chandler's career thus far. I mean, when I was writing that, it was kind of hard to say that because Chandler has fought some great people. But when you really break it down, Dan Hooker, technically by the numbers and everything, is the best opponent that Michael Chandler has ever faced. And this will be the biggest test of his MMA career. And it's crazy to think because it's coming so late. But, man, I think he's ready. Michael Chandler, he's a wrestling/boxer. He's fast with his hands. He has some insane knockout power. He has natural pressure. But, yeah, he does work on his opponents, man. He's an All-American wrestler. He can land some ground and pound. He can do so much, man. So much. But, yeah, these two are looking to show off here tonight because they say it's most likely going to be Khabib versus Conor next if Conor could win. But technically they said out of these last 2 fights, whoever can show us stuff and show us the work can get the work with Khabib. And that's basically what he was trying to say. He's like, you show me something crazy. So if Michael Chandler comes out here and destroys Dan Hooker and does some crazy stuff, and he does some amazing wrestling, I might be excited to see Michael Chandler versus Khabib. Not saying Khabib versus Conor or Poirier or you know what I mean? It wouldn't be great. I don't think Khabib versus Dan Hooker would be amazing. No offense to Dan Hooker. Sorry. I just think Khabib could actually just manhandle him. But I'm excited to see what Michael Chandler does with Dan Hooker. And for that reason, because I think so highly of him at this moment and I see some greatness in him and what he can do in the UFC, I got to take Michael Chandler. But I'm not going to say by knockout or submission. I think it's going to be Michael Chandler wins by decision against Dan Hooker. It's going to be an interesting fight no matter what. It's always interesting to see someone that has a career outside the UFC, no matter what organization it is, come in and stepping in to this stage on a Conor McGregor card as the co-main event against a top 10 ranked lightweight prospect. Or not prospect, my apologies, lightweight seasoned veteran. It's going to be insane, man. But we got that, and then right after that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been nearly 7 years. Poirier versus McGregor is here. It is tonight. It is on pay-per-view. It is the first pay-per-view of 2021 for the UFC. And I just want to clarify that Conor McGregor did donate the $500,000 to Dustin's organization, how this all started. We know the tweet was sent out that Conor offered $500,000 to the Good Fight Foundation, to Dustin Poirier. We've been talking about this since it happened last year. It's finally here. History is being made. They're gonna do it real big. It's in Abu Dhabi, new arena. They got 3,000 people there. Man, it's about to go crazy for this fight. No matter how long it lasts, no matter the outcome, it's going to be entertaining. You know, we got Dustin the Diamond Poirier at 26-6 with 1 no contest on his record. He enters this rematch currently ranked the second best fighter in the lightweight division. He's arguably went through the toughest stretch of what the lightweight division has to offer in his last 6 fights, which I 100% agree on. And you know what? I'm pulling it up, and I'm gonna read it out real quick. Where's he at? Dustin the Diamond Poirier. As we know, Dan Hooker beat him. Before that was Khabib, lost, but great performance. Before that, beat Max Holloway. First guy to do it in 5 years. Before that, beat Eddie Alvarez. Great. Before that, beat Justin Gaethje. Great. Before that, beat Anthony Pettis. Great. Before that, no contest against Eddie Alvarez. And then before that, he beat Jim Miller, and it goes on. Like, what else? Like, come on, dude. Like, Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Pettis, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, Khabib, Dan Hooker. And he's only really lost 2 of these out of all these people I'm naming. And Khabib is technically one of the greatest of all time. He's the pound-for-pound greatest fighter active right now. Like, y'all need to stop sleeping on my man, the Diamond. Like, he deserves his respect. Yeah, he has 12 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, and 7 by decision. He has 12 wins that have been first-round finishes with a combined effort of knockouts and submissions. Man, this man is a UFC masterpiece. He has been in the UFC for such a long time, for longer than I can remember. And he's just cool, calm, and collective. You can't say enough about the guy. Like, he's there to fight. He's a class act. DC Dana Cormier always speaks highly of him because they're both from Louisiana. It's just the stuff that Poirier has done against Max Holloway and even against Khabib, stunning Khabib. Even though he did get the rear naked choke, like most people do fall into Khabib with, I still think Poirier is at the top of his game. After watching Max Holloway, I think it'd be a different story now with Poirier versus Max Holloway. That'd be a very interesting fight to see. But Poirier ain't no joke, man. Like, he put Gaethje to sleep. I rewatched that fight last night. He put him down. Gaethje tried to protest. No, man. Gaethje was stumbling and tumbling and rolling about. He didn't know where he was in that octagon. But yeah, I can't express that enough. Like, Poirier is here to fight, and he has just as much a chance of winning this fight as Conor McGregor does. No matter what the matchmakers or the betting odds are, I don't care what anybody says, you got to give your respect to Dustin Poirier. And I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. But yeah, now on the Notorious Conor McGregor, there's so much you can say about him, but what really needs to be said? He returns from retirement for the 4th time, 3rd or 4th time. He's the 4th best fighter in the lightweight division somehow still, even though I only have 1 fight last year and retired, but we'll just let it go. But that fight against Donald Cerrone was fantastic. That was exactly 1 year ago. Conor has 19 wins by knockout. It is very impressive. He has 1 by submission and 2 by decision. And out of his 19 knockouts, he has 14 of them resulting in first-round finishes. As they like to call him, and as he likes to call himself, the champ, the man who took the UFC to unprecedented heights because of his remarkable and rare ability to command a microphone and champion caliber power inside the octagon. McGregor has climbed the mountain, and he really has taken the UFC to a whole nother level. I commend him for what he's done, going to different sports, fighting Floyd Mayweather, taking that out. Going to be fighting Pacquiao here this year at some point. I respect that, and he is an amazing fighter. And like I said, Dustin Poirier is also an amazing fighter. And this is going to be an amazing bout. This could possibly be one of the best fights in UFC history. I don't want to hype it, but man, this is going to be insane. This isn't Cowboy Cerrone going up against Conor McGregor. This ain't an old man. This is still a middle-aged, hungry, athletic UFC fighter. And his name is Dustin Poirier. And I honestly think Dustin Poirier is going to win this fight. And mark my words, I think it's going to be by TKO. And if it's not, it's cool. We'll see what happens. If Conor gets the knockout, it'd be dope most likely. I mean, he is such a versatile array of skills. But in my mind, I think Dustin Poirier is here. He's hungry, and he knows what a win over Conor McGregor means in his sport. And he's going to take that opportunity. And if he goes out and slips and get hit, at least he went for it. I mean, these two are totally different fighters in this day and age. And I'm very, very, very excited to see this fight. But like I said, I'm taking Poirier wins via TKO. All right, everybody. Early prelims start at 7 p.m. on UFC Fight Pass. Preliminary card starts at 8 p.m. on ESPN. And then it starts with the main event on pay-per-view at 10 p.m. And this is all in Abu Dhabi at the Etihad Arena. Just open. Beautiful arena. 3,000 fans, like I said. It's nothing but hype going on tonight. And I am so excited. UFC 257. It's here. Super pumped. And get ready, guys. And just don't miss it. And like I said, just enjoy the fight. Sit back and relax. And enjoy, man. We got some of the best talent in the world fighting tonight. And it's going to be a good one. But thanks for tuning in, guys. That's all we got for today. Go ahead and get ready for the fights. UFC 257. I'll hit you with the times one more time. Early prelims 7 on UFC Fight Pass. ESPN for the preliminary card at 8 p.m. And then, like I said, the pay-per-view at 10 p.m. Exciting. All right, guys. I'll catch you later. I'm Jalen Walker, your host. And this is Pound for Pound, the MMA podcast. Thanks, guys.